There we go.
Did you guys come back in between the Arkansas trip?
We did. Yeah. So I'm gonna get started here, okay? Yeah. So Happy New Year to everybody. Excited to be back home and have not played here in a month, and so I'm excited to get off the road and to do so with a win, at Arkansas State the other day, and going against quality teams this week. Opportunity to go against a really good Marshall team that's playing as well as anybody in our league at the moment, and then obviously an opportunity against ODU that to get one back that we felt like we didn't play our best at their place just before Christmas. But like the progress that our team is making coming off of Christmas, even going into the Arkansas game, I thought we did some things that better and improved in some areas, even though it wasn't necessarily indicative in the score against a very good Arkansas team, and then certainly saw the benefits of that and coming into the Arkansas State game, and really proud of our guys with that performance, particularly just because I felt like we made kind of the toughness plays that and the together plays that we had been missing throughout the year, and a little bit of adversity coming off of losing 3 in a row, having some guys being down. I liked our guys' response to that adversity, and gives me a lot of promise for where we're at as we get ready to come home and play some games.
Yeah, I guess let's start off as far as health of both Pauls, and then kind of transition that into what Kosei was able to give you down there to Arkansas State. Yeah,
we'll see on those two guys. I think we got positive reports yesterday from from their treatment sessions with our trainer and our training staff, and we'll see again this morning kind of where they're at. I'm optimistic that we get one of those guys back for sure, maybe both. We'll kind of see where it progresses in the next 24 hours and how we handle our practice in terms of with how much live and things that we do today as we want to prepare and kind of just weigh in the cost benefit with that. But you can't say enough about Kosei coming in and just making a ton of winning plays. He was plus 18 while he was on the floor. I thought he was dynamite defensively. He handled the pressure. He did not turn the ball over. He got us into offense and just made a ton of winning plays. And it speaks a lot to his overall character and his toughness because he hasn't played in a lot of games this year, and so he's been still finding ways to help this team and impact our success. He's been on the scout team. I mean, he's been running the plays of our opponent for the last 3-4 weeks. He did so on game day, Saturday morning down there at Arkansas State, and so he would do a rep where he was an Arkansas State player running one of their plays, and then he'd flip with a coach because we didn't have enough players, and he'd jump out there and he'd guard defensively. So that just says a lot to him, and just speaks to the character of our group, that guys are willing to do whatever it takes and step up in the absence of other players, and really proud of just the response to adversity, and he's a prime example of that.
When he committed, you said he was a guy who could come in and play, but then obviously he's coming in later than everyone else and probably has some catching up to do. Is this kind of just we're seeing him start to catch up, and when he gets his opportunity, he was ready?
Yeah, and when we brought him in at the end of the summer, obviously we had some injuries. Paul Jones, we weren't sure he'd even get to play this year, right? And he had a miraculous injury coming back from his surgery, and that was a big reason to add Kosei, late in the recruiting process in July. And there's always a learning curve when you miss the entire summer, and that's difficult to do. But he's played a lot of basketball over the course of his career and been a part of success. And so, just staying ready and having the opportunity to be able to do that. But he gives you a little something different, especially at that point guard spot, because I think he is one of our better defenders on the entire team, and that means a lot in a game like the one against Arkansas State the other day, where we just need to really clamp down and get consistent stops. And then he did a great job just getting us into offense, getting guys where they needed to have the ball to find success to where they could play to their strengths, and then he took care of the ball. And so that gives me a lot of confidence that moving forward, we've got another guy that we can go to that's going to give us a little something different than what our other guards are giving us right now.
You mentioned over on Saturday being able to continue to develop. I know coming off multiple double-digit deficits to come back in that. Do you think that that is something that this team could have been able to pull off a few weeks ago? Or do you think that's something that with this continued development's kind of been
Yeah, that's a great point. Something that we'd really been pointing out to the guys over the last few weeks is just our inability to finish halves. We haven't done a great job. If you look back at ODU, I think it was a 12-2 run to in that first half. Pretty similar at Georgia Southern, where we were playing phenomenal until the last couple minutes of the half. Did not finish it well. Same thing at Arkansas. So I thought that we really turned the corner and started to finish, the half significantly better once we got down double figures, and just a great response on the road from our guys and making the plays that they needed to. So I do think that is a great, testament to how much growth that we've had, because I don't know that we were doing that, 3-4 weeks ago. Even the games that we won, North Carolina Central, Norfolk State, we didn't finish those halves very well at all. We had double-digit leads, and then we go into it, and it's a one-possession game at halftime. And so, learning from that, and that's certainly evident, with what we were able to do at Arkansas State.
And then just coming off that, how big of a building block can that kind of keep that going, moving ahead?
Yeah, it's huge. We never talk about desperation or anything like that, but that we needed to have a sense of urgency. Obviously, starting conference play 0-2 and having to sit on that over Christmas, I thought our response to that when we came back as a team and practice and film and meetings and things was really positive. Again, that doesn't come out in the score against Arkansas, even though I thought we did some nice things that were good for us, maybe not good against a really good Arkansas team. But yeah, it's huge for you. You get an opportunity to get a come from behind win when you're down. You find guys stepping up. Ike comes in and plays for the first time this year and gives us incredible minutes. It's something that we'd been missing from him and that depth. And so, guys stepping up and making the types of plays that they hadn't consistently throughout the year to give you a win against a really good Arkansas State team on the road should give you a ton of confidence and momentum as you come back home.
You mentioned Ike. What can he give you moving forward now that he's able to play for you right now?
Ike's a guy that gives us some great depth, and he's a multiple position guy. We don't have as many multiple position players on this team as we've had in the past. Right now Eddie's kind of the main one that he'll kind of go between the 3 and the 4. But Ike is a guy that could, he can give you minutes at the 2, he can give you minutes at the 3, and he can give you a little different look than what those other guys are when he's in there, serving that role. And I thought he did a great job defensively. I think from a conceptual standpoint, Ike really understands and positionally what we're doing defensively as well as anybody else. And that's really what sparked a lot of our conversation going into that game the other day was, hey, man, I'm watching you in practice. I'm seeing you on film. I think you're further ahead than what you give yourself credit for, and from a conceptual standpoint, you're ahead of a lot of your teammates, and you're probably more ready to start playing and help us than you think you are, and let's build off of those things. And he helps you with that. He absolutely does. He's got great shot-making ability. I know he didn't have an opportunity to really showcase that in the Arkansas State game, but that's definitely what he brings to the table when he's at those two positions.
You like how your offense has been the last few games, even before Christmas break. You've been sharing the ball pretty well. The one thing is with Bitch has kind of been turnovers, but even you shot the ball well at Arkansas. Obviously, you shot over 50% Arkansas State. Do you feel like you're in a pretty good rhythm offensively when you don't turn the ball over?
Yeah, absolutely. Getting something from our inside presence, obviously Gabe, scoring, 17 points in the post over the last 2 games has been huge, because that's just not a big part of, mid-major basketball right now. So that gives us a great niche, somebody that you can throw the ball into, maybe get some double teams and get some easy points. And then, changing the way that we kind of use Justin McBride a little bit, using him as a point forward to initiate offense, kind of as a pressure release. Obviously, people have really picked Brad up and made, life hard for him. And he's done such a great job of running our team, initiating offense, and then putting, guys in position to play to their strengths. And so he's got to get better at handling that pressure. Obviously, those turnovers are troublesome, but, guys like, Justin stepping up and being able to be a playmaker and still, keep their scoring and being just such a mismatch problem is something that we're going to certainly build off of moving forward.
How about Justin? Has he even surprised you a little bit with all the versatility that he has and everything that he can do for you?
Not really, no. I mean, I said it. I know Shane wrote an article when, we signed Justin as one of our last players, that he changed the dynamic of our team, and he's just such a mismatch problem. I mean, he can play off the bounce. He can play in ball screens and set his teammates up. He can get downhill and score. Obviously, he's shooting the ball tremendously this year. If you put a smaller defender on him, he can post and make some plays. And so he can just impact the game on the offensive side of the ball in so many ways that it's really difficult to take him away. Even when teams are playing zone, I think he does a phenomenal job, and his teammates of just finding him in areas, and he goes and he makes plays. But he's really not surprised us, to be honest with you. We don't always get it right, but this one we knew he was really good, and that we would be able to get the best out of him. If we could just get him to a point where he was really comfortable, then he'd be able to play confident, and that's what he's doing right now.
Now on the defensive side, I know you've made a lot of strides. Arkansas State to 35% shooting. Do you like where you're at right there? As long as you can rebound the basketball?
Yeah, without question. I thought we did a lot better job, containing the bounce, being tighter in our gaps, staying out of closeouts, and some things that we've kind of adjusted over the last couple of weeks that lead into that. We've done a better job in that, but certainly got to give a bigger point of emphasis to finishing possessions. Our first shot defense the other day was phenomenal. We held them to 35%, as you said, even with giving up 20 offensive rebounds. I think they rebounded almost 45% of their misses, which is unacceptable. But we've got to do a better job with that. But I think conceptually, we're starting to play this team to where we can just keep guys in front and do a better job of protecting the paint, protecting the foul line. And then when you do those things, you do a better job against the good teams of protecting the three-point line as well. But we've got to finish possessions. That's got to be the next step for us.
When you put on your schedule a nationally ranked team like Arkansas, 18th in the country, when you face them, and you've got a team that is pretty much all new, how is that different for you when you've got a club that has a lot of returners? What's your approach into a game like that? Is it any different?
No, I don't think it's really any different. My favorite Bible verse is Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And I told our guys when we revealed the schedule to them that we were going to fill this schedule with a bunch of iron. And that doesn't mean you're going to win every game, but it is really going to sharpen us. And none better than, coming off of Christmas break and going against a high-powered Arkansas team like that, because what they will do is they will expose your mistakes much louder than anybody else on your schedule is going to be able to do. And that's certainly what they did. And so we needed that. We needed to be able to get some holes poked in even more and get exposed to the things that we've got to get better at, because it really increases your urgency and the intensity at which you have to do that when they pop you by 30, because the margin is very razor thin, pun intended, against the Razorbacks there. But yeah, you want to challenge yourself. There's so many factors. We've talked about it with scheduling, the non-conference, when those games occur. Would you have liked for that game to occur earlier in the year so that you could, find those things out? Sure. But again, I'm really proud of our guys' response to playing a really good Arkansas team, tough road environment, obviously not faring well in the final outcome and the final score, but then pretty quickly responding and getting back on the road and finding a way to correct a lot of those mistakes against a conference opponent.
Did you initiate that call with Calipari, or how did that all develop?
Yeah, absolutely. When you're a Sun Belt program like us and Troy and the teams that have been at the top, the last few years, Arkansas State, nobody calls you. You have to call them, right? And so we spend a lot of time. I'm sure every other staff, I'm speaking for those guys in the league as well. These games are they're so incredibly difficult to get. I know everybody wants to talk about the net, whether it's ours or it's the rest of the league, and it's not our fault. We try. We really do. And there was one reason that we were able to get a Power 4 team this year named Arkansas, and that's because of the relationship with Coach Cal, and I'm thankful for that. But it was initiated by us, for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about next opponent here, Marshall. What do you see out of them, and what are the prospects? What's key for you coming to a win on Wednesday?
Yeah, I tell you what, they're playing really well. Very similar to another team that's playing great in our league right now in Georgia Southern. Just the pace of play, how fast they're playing, how they're sharing the ball, they're shooting it well from three, they're rebounding it. Difference being, they've got some terrific rim protection with Van Coleman. He kind of changes the game. He allows the rest of those guys to, play more aggressively defensively. So they've got some terrific defensive numbers to match up with the offense that they have. Jalen Spear, playing about as well as anybody in the league right now, leading the league in assists, averaging 15 a game, obviously shooting the ball well. He played well against us both times last year. So, making life difficult for him, not letting him get into rhythm and set other guys up is going to be really important. And then, Wyatt Frick's made a huge jump as well. And so that speaks a lot. I think Corny and those guys have done a great job retaining some guys and then helping them make the jump and filling in some good pieces around them. But they're playing really well. And we got to control the tempo. It's no secret that we don't want to, get into a track meet. We want to win the field goal percentage battle, and we'll run when we have our opportunities, but we've got to grind that game out a little bit. And then some of the things that we did defensively the other day, we've got to certainly continue to replicate those and capitalize on them, because a lot of the keys that we had of protecting the paint, staying out of closeouts, guarding the three-point line, things like that against Arkansas State are going to have to be a staple against every team, but certainly against a good Marshall team.
Obviously, you talk about that big interior defense they have. You faced a pretty big fella this past weekend as well. Was there anything that you gleaned from that you can take into Wednesday's game?
We haven't seen 7'4" just yet. Van Coleman's really, and he's a pretty mobile 7'4". I mean, he's an impressive player without a doubt. And so, I think you've just got to be great with your screening. You got to do a great job of creating advantages and then attacking those and trying to keep them off balance a little bit. But they do a great job of, being disruptive, and that's what we've got to do a better job across the board of really being able to handle. I thought for the most part, other than Brad, I thought the rest of our guys did a great job with that against Arkansas State the other day, and I think Brad's certainly capable of being able to do that, and we got to get him back in kind of the confident mode to be able to handle that type of pressure for us. But that's going to be the thing. Dave said it. I think we're making great strides defensively. We're certainly, getting into a rhythm, finding ways to put guys into their respective positions where they can play to their strengths offensively. But we've got to make sure that we cut down on those turnovers so that we give our offense that we're talking about and our half-court defense an opportunity to do what we work on.
Steve, do you have any questions?
Yeah, with the success that you had with Newhoff, at least in the first half, and I don't know what the Van Coleman's condition is. He played 2 minutes, went out with that ankle. Do you still try to go inside a little bit, knowing how well Newhoff played the other day?
Yeah, without question. That's something that we were, banking on Gabe giving us, and I think some of that's confidence, and we made a point in our film session coming off of the Arkansas game to really highlight the 2-3 post-up baskets that he got one-on-one against an SEC team, and said, hey, if you can do this against Arkansas, you can do this against anybody else in the league. And so getting him the ball, letting him play in space and use his physicality and his touch around the rim is going to be an important factor for us, because it gives you a third and fourth scoring punch that not a lot of people in our league are going to have a premier post player like that. And so we've got to continue to build off of the success that he found last week.
Shot blocking team in the conference and one of the best in the country, actually.
Yeah, a lot of that's coming from obviously Van Coleman, and it's coming from their pressure and getting teams sped up. But we can't shy away from it and go in there and say, hey, they're blocking a couple more shots per game than everybody else, and just live on the perimeter. We still want to play inside out, whether that's with the post or off of the bounce with our guys.
What do you say to Douglas, who seemed pretty frustrated the other night? And he's your top point guard. Do you say anything to him as far as confidence or whatever?
Yeah, it's a challenge, right? We always say basketball is a game of responses, and the season is a season of responses. Obviously, he'd been playing at a high level, what we felt like going into the break, and limiting his turnovers and challenging him defensively, and letting him know that we've got great belief in him, that he's not far off. Obviously, that the game the other day was was not indicative of how well he's been playing this year, but just kind of showing him the ways that he can get back to getting his confidence and his swagger. A lot of that is kind of losing yourself on the defensive side of the ball. But I'm excited to see how he responds getting out there in practice here today, because I think that was a one-off of how well he's been playing this season.
Good guys?
All right. Thanks, guys.